In the summer of 1989, amid the turmoil of China's Tiananmen Square, one anonymous figure captured the world's attention and became a lasting symbol of courage and defiance. Known only as Tankman, this individual stood alone, unarmed, blocking the path of a line of tanks, embodying a quiet but powerful resistance. But his story cannot be fully understood without grasping the historical context in which he appeared, a time when demands for reform clashed violently with authoritarian power. The Tiananmen Square protests were largely student-led demonstrations calling for political reform, freedom of speech, and an end to corruption within the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. Inspired by global pro-democracy movements and spurred by the death of Hu Yaobang, a former reformist CCP leader, hundreds of thousands of protesters gathered in Beijing's iconic Tiananmen Square in the spring of 1989. Initially, the protests were peaceful, and the Chinese government engaged in dialogue with the demonstrators. However, as the movement grew, the leadership of the CCP, led by paramount leader Deng Xiaoping, became increasingly alarmed. Fearing that the protests could escalate into a full-scale challenge to their rule, the government declared martial law in late May. On June 4, 1989, the Chinese military, the People's Liberation Army, PLA, was deployed to Tiananmen Square to forcibly suppress the demonstrators. This crackdown is now remembered as the Tiananmen Square Massacre. The PLA used tanks, armored personnel carriers, and live ammunition to disperse the crowds. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of people were killed in the streets surrounding the square, though the exact death toll remains disputed to this day. On the morning of June 5, 1989, just one day after the violent crackdown, a single unknown man became the subject of one of the most enduring images of the 20th century. As a column of tanks slowly advanced down Chang'an Avenue in Beijing, this lone individual stood in front of the lead tank, blocking its path. Wearing a simple white shirt, dark trousers, and carrying 2 shopping bags, the man made no grand gestures. He just stood there. In a stunning display of restraint or confusion, the lead tank attempted to maneuver around the man, but each time he shifted to remain in front of it. The standoff lasted only a few minutes, but during that time, this anonymous figure became a symbol of resistance against the immense power of the state. The interaction ended when 2 people, believed to be civilians, rushed to the scene and led the man away. It is unclear whether they were concerned onlookers or undercover agents. The tanks resumed their march, and the man's fate became an enduring mystery. The identity of the Tank Man remains one of modern history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Despite the global attention this image received, no verifiable information about who he was has ever come to light. Several theories have emerged over the years, but none have been conclusively proven. Some have suggested that he might have been a member of the working class, as he appeared to be returning from shopping, evidenced by the bags he carried. Other theories propose that he was a student involved in the protests. The Chinese government has made concerted efforts to suppress any information about the Tank Man. Within China, the iconic image is heavily censored. Attempts to uncover his identity have been stymied by the state's control of information, and it is unclear if the man was detained, imprisoned, or executed in the aftermath of the event. Western journalists have made attempts to discover the Tank Man's identity, but their investigations have yielded no definitive answers. Several individuals have come forward over the years, claiming to know the identity of the man or to have witnessed what happened to him, but these accounts are typically second-hand or unverifiable. Some reports suggest he may have been taken into custody by the Chinese authorities immediately after the incident and either executed or imprisoned. Still, there is no conclusive evidence to support these claims. Despite the global fascination with Tankman, the mystery surrounding his fate has persisted for decades. Numerous theories exist, but none have been verified by reliable sources. One of the most common theories is that the Chinese authorities arrested the Tankman shortly after his removal from the street. Given the harsh and often brutal treatment of dissidents during this time, it is speculated that he was either swiftly executed or sent to a labor camp where he may have died. However, there is no solid evidence to support this theory, and the Chinese government has never acknowledged any such arrest or execution. Another theory is that the Tankman may have survived the incident and is living in anonymity, either in China or abroad. Some believe that the two men who escorted him away were friends or fellow protesters who helped him escape from the scene. If this is true, it is possible that he has remained in hiding to avoid government persecution. Given the severe repercussions faced by anyone who openly challenged the government at that time, it is plausible that he chose to disappear to ensure his safety and the safety of his family. Some suggest that Tankman might not have been a prominent activist, but rather an ordinary citizen who acted spontaneously. If this theory holds, it is possible that he resumed his normal life after the incident, blending back into society. In this scenario, the man might not even fully understand the global significance of his actions, especially considering China's censorship of information related to the event. He could be a regular person who has chosen to stay out of the limelight. In another speculative theory, some have posited that the Chinese government might have assumed control over Tankman's identity, either forcing him to live under state control or eliminating any traces of him. In this scenario, the regime would have an interest in erasing his existence to prevent further glorification of his actions, which could inspire similar acts of defiance. While the fate of Tankman remains unknown, his image has become an enduring symbol of resistance against tyranny and authoritarianism. The photograph of him standing in front of the tanks has been reproduced and exhibited around the world, serving as a poignant reminder of the human capacity for courage in the face of overwhelming odds. In the years since the incident, Tankman's story has become a source of inspiration for pro-democracy activists, human rights organizations, and ordinary citizens fighting against oppression. His anonymity adds to the power of the symbol he represents, an ordinary individual challenging the might of a government. This defiance is universal and transcends nationality, making Tankman an iconic figure in the global struggle for freedom and justice. Despite the global impact of the Tankman image, the Chinese government has taken extensive measures to ensure that the incident remains largely unknown within the country. Discussion of the Tiananmen Square massacre is heavily censored, both online and in print. Images of Tankman are blocked, and references to the event are removed from textbooks and public discourse. For younger generations in China, the events of 1989 are often unfamiliar or entirely unknown, as the government has successfully erased much of the historical memory of the protests and the massacre. Foreign media outlets continue to discuss Tankman and the Tiananmen Square protests every year on the anniversary, but within China, the event remains shrouded in silence. Tankman's story is a testament to the power of individual action and the profound impact that a single person can have on the course of history. Even though we may never know the true identity or fate of this remarkable individual, his act of defiance continues to resonate around the world. As an enduring symbol of resistance to oppression, Tankman will always stand as a reminder that even the most ordinary people can make an extraordinary difference in the face of injustice.